Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today we are talking about the thermic effect of food and what it can do for you in terms of weight loss. So recently I saw an Alan Roberts video talking about Vince from Vshred, who was talking about thermic effect of food being the nuclear bomb secret to fat loss or weight loss. And I saw Vince's clips from the video and was just like, oh no. And so I did want to hop on here and make a video about what the thermic effect of food is and how much it can really do for you in terms of energy expenditure. So when we have our energy balance equation, right, we have your calories in equal to, or on one side we have your calories in, the energy you're taking in, then on the other side we have your calories out. The largest part of this equation by far is your basal metabolic rate. That is the energy you need just for normal cell metabolism, heart beating, lungs functioning, breathing, just stuff to keep you alive, right? That is where most of your energy goes. And then you also have your planned physical activity, so working out and daily activities of living, so housework, walking around for your job, things like that, right? Our physical activity. We also have thermic effect of food, which is what we'll talk about more in a minute. And then we also have adaptive thermogenesis, which is hardly ever accounted for because it's very hard to do that. And it varies wildly from person to person, day to day, place to place. Your adaptive thermogenesis is literally just you maintaining body temperature versus your external temperature. So like right now, I'm not putting a lot of effort into that because it's a pretty neutrally temperatured room. I'm not sweating to stay cool. I'm not shivering to warm up. I'm not really spending a lot of energy to maintain my body heat. But if I were sitting outside where it's cold, then you would be expending some energy to stay warm. But like I said, really hard to account for because it's different for person to person and what room they're in, are they clothed, like all that kind of stuff. So we never really throw that in there. And then there's also spontaneous activity. So that is like fidgeting your feet or tapping your fingers, all of those little movements that you do. That's also usually not accounted for in there either, because again, very small, very hard to measure. Thermic effect of food usually isn't put into that calorie balance equation either, because it isn't very significant. And that's the thing that was very wrong in Vince of Vshred, or Sculpt Nation now, in Vince's video, right? He was touting it as if it were this magical secret to fat loss. Like there are these certain foods that have a ridiculously high...
The nuclear bomb for weight loss is adding certain foods that have an insanely high
thermic effect of food that can help you shed pounds or melt fat off your body, while also eating like Kit Kats and other things and, you know, still like really enjoying your diet, when that just is not true. So thermic effect of food, that is the energy that it takes to digest, absorb, and then transport nutrients and calories from that food throughout your body, right? So obviously it takes some energy to chew, it takes some energy for all the other muscles down your esophagus and your stomach and your intestines to move all of that food along, and then to transport it across, you know, your gut membranes and get all those nutrients to the rest of your body, right? And then with your cells that are receiving it, it takes some energy to transport it across, depending on the type of transporters, and then to utilize said nutrients, right? So that is the thermic effect of food, is the energy it takes for us to get things out of that food that we need. However, the thermic effect of food is 5 to 10% of your daily calories. Like I said, it's not a lot. Multiple of my textbooks are telling me that it is calculated at 5% if you even want to throw it in there, and one of them has it as 5 to 10% if you want to add it in. So there are some differences in like different types of food, right? You can get more or less thermic effect out of different kinds of food. So protein has the highest, right? It takes a fair amount of energy for your body to deaminate and then deconstruct amino acid chains. So that's why it takes the highest. Proteins can actually have 20 to 30% thermic effect of food. And when I'm saying those percentages, so if you had 40 calories of protein and like a bit of chicken you ate or whatever, then 20 to 30% of that 40 calories, right? So what is that? 16 to 24 calories of that 40 would be spent obtaining the nutrients from that protein, right? So protein is 20 to 30%, carbs are 5 to 10% usually, and then fat is the worst for it. It is 0 to 3%, right? There are some fats that take almost no effort by our body to absorb. I mean, think like oil, right? You literally don't even have to chew it. It just goes straight on your gut and it's already in liquid form. So it is fairly readily absorbed, right? As soon as it's processed by all those lovely things that come out of your gallbladder to break up the fat droplets. But yeah, really easy for our bodies to absorb fat. So with that being said, all those different percentages for different macros of food, the average of that 0 to 3, 5 to 10, and 20 to 30% is what we usually would use if you were even going to add thermic effective food into an energy equation balance of that 5 to 10% of your total calories, which is somewhat significant, right? If you are eating around 2,000 calories a day, since that's the normal average recommended, DRI or DV or whatever, that's not a tiny number. It would be like 200 calories. But the thing is that when you go on a diet, that usually goes down a little bit because you tend to be eating a little bit less. Less food you're taking in, less thermic effective food. And you have the thermic effective food no matter what. So it's kind of already accounted for, right? Because even if you are, doing a ton of exercise or not very much or whatever, in either of those scenarios, you still have that thermic effective food happening, right? So even when you start a new diet, you still have thermic effective food happening, right? That isn't a new energy expenditure that you're adding into your lifestyle. That will happen no matter what. So it really isn't going to impact weight loss. Now, there are some ways that you can raise it, but you really can't raise it that much, unfortunately. Even if you manage to max out, the thermic effective food for you, that would still probably only be around 15% of your daily calories, which, again, for a 2,000 calorie diet would be about 300, which again is not insignificant, but remember, you probably already had about 10% of those being burned, so really it's only an extra 100 calories, which isn't nearly as significant. So when Vince is saying that this thermic effective food is the nuclear bomb, that you're just going to be melting body fat away, unfortunately, like I said, it's probably only an extra maybe 100 calories that you can squeak out of your thermic effective food in your body. And there's on average about 3,500 calories in 1 pound of body fat. So if that extra 100 calories you squeak out doing all these different things to raise your thermic effective food, it would take you 35 weeks of doing that to have the thermic effective food be responsible for 1 pound of fat loss. So, sorry, Vshred, sorry, Vince, there is no secret nuclear bomb in the thermic effective food for weight loss. That is the thermic effective food. Oh, actually, yes, I did want to talk about things that can raise your thermic effect of food. But again, keep in mind that doing all of these things will probably only squeak you out an extra 5 to 7%, which is not that much, especially if you are trying to be in a calorie deficit and you're eating less than normal calories, because again, the less food you eat, the less food there is to have a thermic effect with. So, 10% of 2,000 calories, oh, I'm burning 200 calories just by eating food, but if you drop that down to I'm on a, diet, so I'm eating 1,500 calories, well then it's only 150 calories, so just keep all that in mind. But I'm going to read off screen for a second because I have a study pulled up because I was looking into this earlier just to make sure that I remembered everything correctly and was delivering correct information. So, this study was a review over several other studies about the thermic effect of food. And this review was looking at it in the context of weight loss, right? I'll read you the abstract really quickly. 2/3 of US adults are overweight. There is an urgent need for effective methods for weight management. A potentially modifiable component of energy expenditure is the thermic effect of food, or TEF. the increase in the metabolic rate that occurs after a meal. Evidence suggests that TEF is increased by larger meal sizes, as opposed to frequent small meals, intake of carbohydrate and protein, as opposed to dietary fat, and low-fat, plant-based diets. Age and physical activity may also play roles in TEF. The effects of habitual diet, meal timing, and other factors remain to be clarified. Further research into the key factors that affect TEF may lead to better treatment methods for improved weight management. And then I will scroll back down here to some of the effects that they were finding. So, the first thing that you can do to increase your thermic effect of food is just be young, which isn't something you can change, but they did find that TEF may decrease with age. They compared 123 older adults aged 60 to 88 compared to 86 younger adults aged 18 to 35, and they found a 0.9% difference in their TEF postprandially, right? So after they eat. So be younger. That helps. Physical activity. One study comparing active and sedentary men in both younger and older age groups found thermic effect of food to be 45% higher in the active young group and 31% higher in the active older group compared with their respective secondary groups, right? So the active young compared to the inactive young was 45% higher. And remember, that doesn't mean that their TEF was 45%, it means it was 45% higher. So if the younger group's TEF was, 7.3%, then the active young groups was probably closer to 10%. So again, you're really not going to get too much higher than that 10% number. Energy content of meals. Like I talked about, your different macros will have different TEFs. So they looked at that as well. Energy content of meals. This is looking at calories, right? How much energy you're taking in a meal can affect the energy it takes to break down that meal. So what they found in a 1990 study reported that a higher energy intake, regardless of meal composition, results in an increased TEF. One study compared 3 different meals. They used kilojoules in this study, but I will translate to calories so that people watching know what the heck I'm talking about. 500 calories, 1,000 calories, and 1,500 calories, right? The corresponding TEF values were less than 10% for the 500 calorie meal, 21% for the 1,000 calorie meal, and 33.5% for the 1,500 calorie meal from the baseline, respectively. So, and then a meta-analysis of 27 studies showed a significant increase in TEF of 1.1 to 1.2 kilojoules. That's about 0.239 calories. For every 100 kilojoules, about 23.9 calories of energy intake. So again, very small increase per 100 calories. But the larger meals that you do eat, does result in a higher thermic effect of food afterwards. So, if you are young, active, and eat larger meals, so if you ate like 3 square meals a day versus 6 small ones throughout the day, you might get a little bit larger of a thermic effect of food. Meal composition. 3 studies have compared the effect of high carb versus high fat meals. 2 of them, providing similar caloric content meals, found the thermic effect of food to be 96% and 16% higher on the high carb meal compared with the high moderate fat group, respectively, but did not provide data on statistical significance. So we can't really draw any solid conclusions from that, because raw data by itself doesn't really mean anything, right? We have to actually have it be significant for us to really be able to show us a pattern or a trend. So that one wasn't super conclusive. But a 2005 study of lean young men also found thermic effect of food to be 32% higher on the high carb meal compared with a high fat meal with isoenergetic, same calorie, content. Right? So if you eat more carbs and protein in your diet, especially less processed carbs and protein, right, because fiber can't really break it down, will aid in upping that thermic effect of food. So eat less processed food, eat lean proteins, which can be plant-based proteins as well, right? Lentils and tofu would actually be fairly good if you wanted to boost your TEF by a whole extra 1%, then plant-based proteins would not be a bad way to go, because again, the protein has some of the highest TEF, and then the carbs have the second highest, whereas a lot of animal-based proteins have a lot of fat in there as well, which have the smallest thermic effective food. So, yeah, and then it talks more about processed and unprocessed, more about meal timing. Here we go, their conclusion. So, this review concluded that thermic effective food is a significant part of energy expenditure, and it can be to a certain degree increased by factors that are under individual control, such as by eating larger meals and meals high in carbohydrates and protein, and by increased physical activity. Although the effects of such manipulation are small, they may play an important role over the long term, suggesting that they may have value as part of the management of obesity and obesity-related conditions, such as type 2 diabetes. The body of literature on thermic effective food is limited. Many studies are small in size, and methodology varies considerably between studies. Nonetheless, to the extent that postprandial energy expenditure can be increased, weight control efforts may be facilitated. More research studies with larger sample sizes and appropriate controls are needed. So, they as well concluded that, yeah, you can boost it, but the significance and impact of it remains to be seen. And like they were saying in here, is that meals high in carbs and proteins, specifically less processed carbs, and having like 3 square meals a day, are things that people tend to do on diets anyway. And having, less processed carbs and lean proteins are things that people would usually do on a diet anyway. So with people eating a better quality of food and making sure they get, food at the right times, if they are like me and really bad at eating consistently and are suddenly doing a higher quality meal 3 times a day, then it may not always be the thermic effective food, but that calorie deficit and that, fiber helping you feel more satisfied to lead to that diet adherence. So, like I said, thermic effective food is not a magical fat melting thing
that just obliterate fat. And in this short presentation right below or above this video, I'm going to show you why all the diets that you've tried in the past have failed you, and which foods you need to start adding today to start melting pounds and skyrocket your metabolism.
It is a small part of our total energy expenditure, which can be slightly manipulated, but again, an increase of 5% would still be only about 100 calories, which isn't the worst, but really, again, when I said if you think about how much energy, how many calories are in a pound of fat, it would still take weeks for you to lose 1 pound of fat and be able to attribute it to the thermic effective food. So, thank you so much for watching. I hope this video gave you a better understanding of what the thermic effective food actually is, and if it can help you lose weight or not. Let me know if you have any questions down below. Please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you want more. Thank you so much. Bye!